Business meeting of the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District order. Mr. Ritchie.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Ms. Dempsey? Ms. Ellicott?
Here.
Ms. Link?
Here.
Dr. Schroeder?
Here.
Dr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Valdez?
Here.
7 present represents a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. I would ask everyone who's able to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the board work session of April 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. So it is lovely to be here at John Marshall High School now that we're back in our former pre-pandemic habit of visiting schools in neighborhoods. And we're thrilled to be back here, and it's close to my neighborhood, so I'm equally thrilled to be here. And it is also nice to see so many volunteers here with us this evening. We'll say more about that in just a minute. But thank you for joining us for dinner, and thank you again for everything that you do for our district. We are really, really grateful. I would now like to introduce the principals of the 3 schools on the campus. Ms. Sarah Kidner, principal of John Marshall School of Civic and Business Leadership. Mr. Timothy Primus, principal of John Marshall School of Engineering, and Ms. Catherine Hainline, principal of John Marshall School of Information Technology.
Hello, welcome everyone to John Marshall. I am Sarah Kidner, the principal of the business school here representing this evening. We welcome you here to our school, and we have a couple of students who would like to highlight some of the things that have been going on the John Marshall campus. So I'd like to introduce to you Nima, Oma, and Benita.
Good evening. My name is Oma Dahal, and I'm a junior at John Marshall CBL. And there are a lot of things happening in this school, which I'm really so grateful for. And these are some of the things that I was involved in. First thing is the chess team, where we recently went to the nationals. Thank you. We recently went to Memphis, Tennessee, where we placed 12th and 13th place, which is something to be proud of. And another thing is other internships that I've been in. One is the Aspire Nursing Program at Cleveland Clinic. From this program, I was able to learn more things about the field of nursing and about the medical field, how to treat patients, lab simulations, how to take vital signs, a lot of stuff. And another internship I was in was YOU. It was an internship program I did in summer. Because my interest was in the medical field, I wasn't able to get any internship because everything was closed because of COVID, but I was able to volunteer at the American Red Cross and help with blood donations. And then another thing I would like to talk about is the school's rugby team. I'm so proud that we have the only girls rugby team in Cleveland, and this is my shirt right here. Thank you. And we have 2 or 3 more games coming up before we end the 15th season, and we've also played in the fall, and we had a lot of clubs. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. Thank you.
I'm sure. Good evening. My name is Benita Biswa. I am a student ambassador for CMSD. I also am in the chess club and in the rugby club as her. Chess club, as she said, we went to the nationals and we placed 12th and 13th in the country. In our respective sections, I captained my section under 800. Country, which I am extremely proud of my team for. Thank you. Also, another thing because I'm in the business field, business school, so I am interested in the leadership program. I am in the Look Up to Cleveland leadership program, and there we learn a lot. We learn to enhance our leadership skills. I participate in like community services, such as we help clean the kids' Cleveland Museum, and other places we did community service, and then we met like mayor of Cleveland, and we met other respective leaders in their fields, and we learned from their skills. Also, the rugby team, we are the only girls rugby team in Cleveland, and we're also like having other girls from other districts and other schools from outside of CMSD to join us. So this becomes more of a club than a school team. Thank you. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nime David, and it has been a pleasure to speak to you this evening. Thank you so much to my principal, Ms. Kinney. I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. I was born in DRC, and then I went in the refugees camp where I was not able to go to school. Even where I was born also, I was not able to attend school every day because of the tuition. And for some reason, between some classes, the teacher will come and here to John Marshall High School, where there is a lot of opportunities that I have been doing. It's been a great experience for me. One of the great experiences that happened to me was the college credits plus. I'm supposed to be a junior right now, but I am graduating a year early. I am a senior as I'm talking right now. Thank you. The college credit plus helped me in advance in college classes, also boost up my another opportunity that I was given by the school was the internship, which we all sometimes know. We wake up every day, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. But when the school is giving us the opportunity, when we're still in high school, the opportunity helps us to say, okay, I think when I get the opportunity for the internship, it confirms you. Me working with the internship in the American Red Cross, it helps me gain the experience. It helped me learn that, oh, I really need to be a nurse. Because when we work with the American Red Cross, when these donors are coming, I don't want to be there the next day. I want to be in the medical field. I appreciate this opportunity so much that John Marshall feels home for me. Every time I felt my house, I'll go to John Marshall. I have learned a lot. My 3 years here has been nothing but great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes, and
When-
just a final plug for
Please.
the girls' rugby program. We do have our 2 home games coming up on May 8th and May 15th, and we would love to see you here at
at
John
1
Marshall
o'clock.
High School out at the field. They will be
Out here?
playing out here.
Up here.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock games, yes. And they would love to have your support. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ladies.
And Chair Bingham, I would also just say the John Marshall chess team was the #1 Facebook and Twitter push for the district in the last 2 weeks. So really got a lot of positive ratings and then got reshared. So get a lot of love for our great chess team. And they didn't talk about it here, but on the way down, their van actually had a flat tire, and so the students all got out while the van was being fixed and played some chess. So, but we're very, very proud of them.
So when we think about the future of Cleveland and the future of our country being people your age, we're proud of you. So thank you for coming and sharing your stories with us, and know that we're looking to you all for what happens next in Cleveland. So you are the future, and we feel it. That's why the volunteers do what they do, and why we volunteer and do what we do. It's for you. All right, with that, Mr. Gordon, we will now have our CEO report from Chief Executive Eric Gordon.
Thank you. Good evening, formally, board members and members of our community. First, I want to start by continuing a celebration that was actually started right next door this evening and actually started last week in our schools. So last week was National Volunteer Week, and it gave us an opportunity to continue to show our gratitude with the reception right next door in the gymnasium. And that reception included volunteers from across the district and was hosted by our culinary program, the Executive Grill, who provided all of the menu, and our all-city jazz jazz trio, who provided the music for the program. Despite the challenges of a global health crisis that at first wouldn't even allow us to have those volunteers in our pre-K-8 schools cover all of our buildings. We have over 100 students from Cleveland this week, so are not with us this evening. We have 259 corporate and community volunteers as part of our True to You mentoring program that helps our 8th graders identify their strengths and their interests and to begin choosing high schools that will best prepare them for their future. We have a number of volunteers who are seniors, retirees, and foster grandparents, particularly a partnership with East End Neighborhood House, who tutor and support students in 15 of our pre-K reception. And at this time, I would just welcome all of our volunteers who are able to please stand and be recognized so that the board can formally thank all of you for your service. And I did share that the volunteers are welcome to stay for the full balance of the board meeting should they choose, but also that it was not a requirement because they've already been volunteering in the schools throughout the day. But thank you again to all of our volunteers, those who are here, any of those who are watching on our streaming, and for all of those who will be getting the certificates and their tokens too over the coming days. My notes. Yesterday, we opened registration for our summer learning experience. On the first day of registration, 95 students already enrolled, including 72 pre-K and kindergarten, 205 first through 8th graders, and 18 high schoolers. By 4:30 today, that number had risen to 566 students, including 135 pre-K and K, 388 now at a little later than 6:45, the numbers are even higher. So we're off to a good start for registration. We also have already put out the application for our educators to work summer learning experience. We had 980 teachers, 244 paraprofessionals, 27 health professionals, and 40 pre-K and pre-K intervention teachers all apply. So really robust turnout from our educators and a good start on our enrollment. Experience found on the district's website. There's a tile right on the front page, or you can type in clevelandmetrosschools.org/summerlearning22. And then also wanted to share that at our board work session last month, we tested live streaming of our board meetings. It went well. So this meeting is posted on the front page of the board's website. It is currently being streamed live, and it will be archived on the board page along with all prior meetings, all future meetings as they go. We have also communicated this to the Cleveland documenters who document lots of public meetings around the community, and we will next turn our attention to broadening the public participation access that board members have raised as well. So wanted you to be aware that has occurred, is occurring, and if you go to the website, like right now, you can actually, board members, watch yourselves live on the stream. And then finally, just wanted to point out a few of the media items we have for you. I mentioned the top social about why they support COVID vaccination, Lincoln West Global Puerto Rico, and the Cleveland School of the Arts Heroes Day work coming up. We also were in the news for a number of items. Those are in your package as well. And then our own News Bureau stories about particularly our SEL conference, which we hosted last Thursday and Friday, our robotics teams that competed in the Regional Robotics Championship, our Davis High School students whose films are being featured at the Cleveland International Film Fest, and then Rhodes student Jamal Sumlin, who committed to Division I University of Texas at El Paso, the story about him. And then you have in the printed media the advertisements for Summer Learning Experience. That includes the billboards and RTA. And then the final one is the Glenville High School Dr. Martin Luther King Scholarship Program that happened this past weekend. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to pause for any questions or comments from members of the board.
Questions? Mrs. Link?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say I'm so pleased that the summer learning registration is coming along for both the students and the teachers. I thought it was such a great experience last year for everyone, and I know it'll be improved this year, so thank you for that report.
Are there yard signs, Mr. Gordon?
I don't believe yard signs, but I will check for you.
Okay.
It said yard signs in here.
It
Then
did,
yes, there are yard signs.
because I would be happy to offer my yard as a place. Happy to deliver yard signs to people.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Ms. Valdez?
Wanted to thank again to all the volunteers who are here and those who aren't for all the hard work that you guys have done all year. Without you guys, everything we do in the school district wouldn't be as great as it is. And so just once again, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the hard work you've done and all the impact that you've done for our students. Mr. Gordon and the team, thank you so much for making live streaming and be hopefully better informed about what's going on in our meetings. I would also like to acknowledge, I guess, that we've had a particularly difficult weekend for some of our students in our district. And it's been a particularly difficult year in general for a lot of our families and family members and scholars. So I guess I wanted to just ask you, or better inform, what measures we're taking to support our community during this time.
Yeah, so for members of our community that are unaware, we had 2 student deaths, both by hit and run, over the weekend and into Monday. We have a team called the Rapid Response Team that coordinates our response to any kind of serious student injury, adult injury, or death in our community. It is a coordination effort between internal resources like our school psychologists, counselors, school nurses at times, and also working with partner organizations like the Hospice of Western Reserve and that sort of thing. We always try to identify not only where the particular person is from, but also if he or she may have siblings, and so we can provide support in other schools. And so we kind of that with the school that feels proximate to what they're experiencing. So it's a customized response from that rapid response desk for each of those cases. And then also try to work where possible to connect families to additional community resources past the kind of most immediate incident. I think that's what you were alluding to, and that's the background of what we do, when an incident occurs. And that's run through our social emotional learning department.
And does that response differ depending on the situation? And the length of that response?
Yes, so the response is created with the rapid response team and the school for the specific situation. So there's an immediate reach out from our rapid response desk that works with the school team to assess, what is the need, what resources are available, how many people are impacted, how many buildings are impacted, and then the response is designed specifically around how we respond to that individual situation. It can be short, can be longer, but very much tries to be customized to the particular need.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Thomas?
Thank you. To piggyback on what Ms. Valdez was saying, I just want to single out Tom Ott, and I know he's in the back of the room not paying attention. Now he's paying attention.
You heard his name.
He's got a very difficult job of having to inform the members of the board of these tragedies. And Tom, you do it with such dignity. I'm usually caught up in the moment, but thank you very much for the great work that you've done in these very trying times.
Anyone else? Okay, so we will now move on to our period of public participation for a period of no longer than 40 minutes. During this segment of the business meeting, we will hear all public comment on either agenda or non-agenda items. This public participation period will be for persons to address the board for up to 3 minutes each. If you wish to address the board, you should have already filled out the request to speak form that was available on the table in it says the back of the room, but I think it was in the front of the room over here, and submitted that form prior to the start of the meeting. If anyone wishing to address the board has any written material that they would like to submit to the board, thank you. Please give it to Mr. Bertzlaff right there, and he will distribute the material to the board. While we welcome the opportunity to hear from members of our community at our meetings, there is, of course, an expectation that persons addressing the board will show respect for the audience by conducting themselves in a courteous and professional manner as befits a public meeting. And I also want to point out, because this is a relatively new thing, is that we are posting on our meeting agendas the school district response to people who have spoken during public participation at previous board business meetings. And so with that, our first speaker is Bill Davis, followed by Don Freeman.
Hello, good evening. I'm Bill Davis, and I am Marie Davis. I'm speaking along with him. In 2020, I am submitting to you my grievance that were to go to step 2. The first grievance in 2020, I was never given a due process hearing. I was never given reason for the removal except C2 said as reporting harassment and retaliation, banning even after the CMSD legal department closed the case. I endured comments, rude, offensive remarks about my appearance, my physical deformity, things like that. I was banned after reporting it, and gossip, hostile work environment was allowed to occur. There was never a conference or mediation. Despite a good faith request for help to intervene, no conferences or mediation was ever done that year. I was removed for 6 months due to reporting continual and increasing severity. Is it your weight? Do you smell? Fuzzy, warm, social. I'm a Grinch because I didn't go to social events, and they were never reprimanded when there was no mediation of any kind. I taught 20 years. I was accomplished and skilled, but I was not believed. I endured a fit for duty exam with your doctor for 2 hours on a landline. She did not ask me questions about banning specifics, and the trivial report she got said that things were benign. I was forced 6 months out of my position, and when I returned, I was not welcome back. There was no talk about last year to correct anything, and I was still ostracized. And then I ended up enduring, when I came back, threats. I had threats on video that I reported that nobody has seen. I have been asking and emailing you for review, asking the ODE for review. I wanted my due process. No professional that I went to, I had several, and in my own fit for duty exam, no one said that I made things up. Those things happened to me, and I wasn't believed. And I'm asking for an internal review. Thank
you. Mr. Freeman, followed by, is that the same?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mr. Gordon, again, I inquire, is Holly Trefuro here today?
It's right back there.
Okay. All right, I now know who she is. All right, okay, thank you very much. I'm Don Freeman. Welcome. Thank you.
That was it? Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Marquetta Baker, followed by G.T. Tracy. So we'll put Marquetta Baker at the bottom in case they were.
COVID's on the rise again. BA2 is coming, 30% more infectious. Keep the mask in place. Strongly suggest it. Safety. You know, I've heard some strange things. Let me ask you this. If you saw four bullies beating up on a kid, could you stand by and allow that to occur? I couldn't. I never could. I never did. I interceded, putting myself in jeopardy, but I couldn't see a child being harmed. And with safety or security, with low numbers now, you're not even sure there's a guard in your building. You have to protect those who wish to protect the children. It's that simple. I've heard sometimes people even brought up on charges for interceding. I hope that's not the case. I also heard of incidents where a kid is totally out of control, doing something almost every day, either harming someone, interrupting. But I heard some, it was that you cannot look at past offenses. You cannot look at past offenses. You only can deal with that one thing on hand. I hope that's not the case. I really do. And if there are cases like that, you should intercede. Did you know there's a food challenge going on? All over, there's droughts, and where there isn't droughts, you have excessive rain, which kills the crops. You need to do something now. A statement has to be made. I know you have a climate change school. It was in, I think is it at Rhodes? But you need a solely purpose large school and a statement nationally that we are open for business. There's something that just won't let me rest in peace. That $1 million that the mayor stole back in 2009, that's for the children of Cleveland. CMSD, it was hold them harmless for the lifetime tax abatement given to the football stadium. And when it happened, I didn't know till 2010 because it was done covertly. And ever since that time, I've called it to your attention every meeting. And it wasn't until the new board members came in and a new mayor that it's starting to be understood that this travesty, this injustice to the children cannot go on. You don't know, or I should say, I do know how many children were lost to charter schools. They were denied it. So I'm at a loss for words, and I'd like to rest. The children would like to strive. Please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy. Tariq Mitchell? Okay, thank you.
Can I begin now? Yeah, go right ahead. Okay. Good morning, everyone, the board, the CEO, friends, family, and everyone in attendance. Give you a little background about myself. Graduate of Cleveland State University, also graduate of CMSD schools, graduated from John F. Kennedy, also studied abroad as a scholar at Hampshire University. But the most important moniker that I have is father. And that's what's important to me, more than any other title, certificate, or anything else that I have. And so, as I sent pictures and emails to the board, to the CEO, to the mayor's office, the governor's office, and everybody in between, About 2 weeks ago, my son was maliciously attacked at Franklin Delano Roosevelt by multiple kids. And what I'm asking the board is three simple questions. Number one, why is there not enough security and police in our schools? Number two, multiple kids have been attacked, jumped at different locations, let alone in this month of April. What are you guys doing to make changes to that? Now, I can look at this board and tell that some of you may have kids that are in the school or maybe might be out of the school. I know one or two of you have kids at the fact, because I did my research. But for the rest of us who don't have the swanky schools or the means to do certain things, it's a jungle going on in our schools. And we need to know, what are you guys doing to change that? Because we got all this extra COVID money and this and that, but it seems like no one's coming to be security or police or anything. It's chaos in the schools. My son transferred from V-Prep, Village Prep, never had a problem in his life before. Good grades, merit roll, good grades. He came to the school, within months, he's attacked by up to 8 kids. We've had it on Channel 19, Channel 5, and I think they will probably be running it on Channel 3. My third question, this board's been in place for a long time. I do believe, Mr. Gordon, you've been here at least 10 years, and I really want to know, it's not just about building brand new buildings. What's going on inside the school that's really have changed? And I have to question you, because I've sent something to your office multiple times. I never got a response. I never got a phone call from you. This happened on April 12th. And other families are here whose kids have been bullied and harassed too, and stomped and jumped. So the question I have personally for you, as CEO, do you care about the brown and black kids of our school? That's the question I have personally for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Casey Kirkseft?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Casey Kirksey. This is Kiara Haynes.
We have 2 children that are in CMSD schools. My son, Adonis, he originally, where we had to move him from this school because of kids bullying on him not feeling safe and no one doing anything about it. We transferred him to William Rainey Harper, which we thought would be, a better fit and help with our blended family. This school year has been terrible. On the second day of school, my son was in class and a kid just decided to get up and bash his head into a desk. There was no argument, there was nothing. This kid just felt like doing it. Oh, the second school, a kid choked my son out for no reason, no argument, no nothing, because he felt like doing it. Last Wednesday, my son was in recess, and a group of kids, he went to go play on the playground, a group of kids said, let's jump him. And 6 kids stomped my son out for no reason, no argument, no nothing. There's no security at this school. He was stomped out, pushed down the slide, stomped out again. His head was banged into a pole, and no. I send my kids to school to get an education. I should not have to worry about their safety. I should not have to teach them to defend themselves. It's like, and no one's doing anything. Something has to be done. Why is there no security? I know the numbers have been up of violence since COVID has happened. What are you guys doing to help these kids? Because clearly the pandemic did something to a lot of people. A lot of kids, it's crazy. And what are you guys doing for their mental health? What are you? where the money for them? Where did they get a raise or anything? Where is the money going? Why is there no security? Like y'all say y'all care about our kids, but what is being poured into them?
Both of us as parents, and also me as an educator myself, we believe in a safe learning environment, and we want to see where the resources are. If we don't have enough security, why are we not using resources like police on staff? These kids are different now since the pandemic, and we really have to put our money where we need it, and that's security and safety for our children. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And is Marquetta Baker here? You're coming, okay.
Hi, my name is Marquetta Baker, and I am a parent at FDR Franklin. My daughter's first year in CMSD, it's been her worst year ever. She transferred from Catholic school into CMSD. We live in the Glenville neighborhood. She has never had a fight in her life. In the past month, my daughter has been suspended 3 times for fighting, trying to defend herself. I have a protection order on 3 children at the school due to bullying. I go to court tomorrow. I've reached out to every chain of command I could. I've reached out to you, Mr. Gordon, with no response. I have done a petition. I have 100 signatures here for parents who don't feel safe. I have teachers who wanted to sign the petition due to scared of retaliation, couldn't sign it. They're afraid for their life. There's an imbalance there between race in our schools. The white teachers are afraid for their life in Franklin D. Roosevelt. There is no control. They have no say-so in discipline. We are tired. We are frustrated. We are angry with no answers. I just got one answer today from Mr. Dotson, Officer Dotson. He's bringing in 1 security guard. You close every school within my community and you pile them all in one school, put 1 security guard in the building from K through 8th. Whose bright idea was it to combine children with behavioral disorders and special needs in regular classrooms? My child no longer can learn because the teacher is so focused on the kids that are having these behavioral issues through the whole class, and there's no learning getting done. I want to ask y'all, as far as the prison system goes, when there's top-tier murderers coming in the prison system, they don't put them in general population. They're isolated. Not to compare children to prisoners, but that's what Franklin D. Roosevelt seems like, a pipeline to prison right now. There's no discipline for behavior issues running through the school. I watched that baby, his face. I've sent you the pictures. I've had the petition. We've done everything we can do, and it's like we're getting pushed to the side. No one cares because of where our community is, because it's full of brown people. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating because we pay taxes, we sit and we get it. I'm one of those parents that get out there and I try to help with our children. I talk to the kids. I ask them if they need help. Some of them don't have the resources. Shown love. When they don't get that, What do you think is going to happen? It's being taken. K through 8th. I would never put small children in a building with big children. It's too much. With one security guard, it makes no sense. They don't allow parents to mediate anything. I've tried to talk to the parents that my daughter has had issues with. They sweep it under the rug. I've asked to have meetings with them. I'm one of those parents that will talk parent to parent, and we can see what's going on with our children. The principal, Mrs. Turner, it seems as though she wants to have everything under control, but everything is out of her control. That's why we're here. We've tried everything we could, and nothing is getting noticed. Nothing is getting done. And we're tired. We want answers. We want action. I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of getting, oh, we're going to have security. It's been a whole school year. My daughter is failing. And then you just pass them along. No matter what they do, they pass on to the next grade. Why? Why? That's setting them up for failure. That's showing them that no matter what they do, they're going to go on to the next phase, and that's not reality. That is not life. You don't get to do the worst of the worst things and you still going to move on in life. There's consequences, and there is none being shown to these kids in this school right now. That's why it's a jungle. What's going to happen? When is some action? There's urgency. There's an urgency for action right now, and that's why I'm here to ask. Actually, I'm not asking, I'm demanding, or we parents are not going for it anymore. We're not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Ms. Thompson, would you please greet Ms. Baker for me? Thank you.
Thank you. The board will consider the adoption of 15 resolutions. I don't have her form. Did she fill out a form? So leave it to Mr. Bertzloff to deep six your form there, ma'am. Look.
My apologies.
Mrs. Coles, you will be our final speaker this evening.
I filled out a form separate of my husband, Marie Davis.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I filled out a form separate from him, a separate form.
But
it's under.
You did. You came up together, so I assumed that was that you were speaking
I have a
together.
separate issue.
Okay, so Mrs. Coles, and then if you want 3 more minutes, you may. But Mrs. Coles, go right ahead.
Good evening. I wanted to address something that just came to my attention, and I think it's almost at the base of almost all the things that we are talking about. And it has to do with the effects of the long-term COVID. And it's manifesting itself in a lot of ways. But the most important thing is manifesting itself in is behavior and in failure. I had a child that I mentored through Martin Luther King, and then she was like a B student. Now she's at Glenville. She's getting Fs. She's not getting F because there's a bad environment. She's getting Fs because her mother died on December the 24th, and she was in a single family home. So she woke up 18 years old on Christmas Day without a support system. Now, we deal with, if you get a problem, we send you off. If the teachers get a problem, we send them off. What are acting so crazy? We've lost in our family. Nobody has a grandfather anymore. Nobody. Every grandfather's gone. And I know that it's impacting me as a human being, but I have the wherewithal to deal with it. How was Trinity supposed to deal with that? January the whatever. Now, if you're in college, I think some of the colleges, even if you lose a spouse or a loved one, immediate, and you're in finals week or something, you have to take the final. They give you an A grade. You know, they accept the fact that you can't do that. You can't come in that situation. That child did not know where she was going to put her head. And someone says, do this worksheet in English. So what I'm saying is that we must form some form of policy. I don't want the time to grieve. And so why wasn't that child who was a B student given some form of leave of absence to kind of get her life together? So now we're pushing like crazy, we're bribing, we're doing everything we can to get this child to stay in school, and she's a senior. We got 30 days, and we don't know if we're gonna make it. And if she does, so what I'm asking is that somebody look at some form of policy that will say what happens when catastrophic things happen to children. So that we don't send somebody in and talk to the whole group, because the whole group isn't that child. The whole group isn't the person that there are no social services available for. The whole group isn't that B student. We need to say, is there a firm policy that says, number one, she should have been given at least incompletes for that third quarter, given an opportunity to make up the work. And then there should have been some form of social service that we offered if the county doesn't offer. Because the county don't offer. County just abandons 18-year-old people. And then we should then, as an agenda, services for our children. So I'm still half close to tears, but I can't afford tears because I've got to get her across the board in the next 30 days. If I have to bribe her, put her in my bedroom, whatever I have to do. She's not going to be lost, but I can't take care of her for the rest of her life. But you understand what I'm saying. So if it's at all possible, I'll see if I can get the name to you, Mr. Gordon, in a, because I know her first name but not her last name. So I'll see if I can get, and maybe even if we don't save any other children, we can at least pull this one across the board. Okay, thanks so much.
Does Ms. Bell know?
I don't know. She's about to retire, so you know what happens when you're close to, that was my
no,
old
ma'am.
That's my old bowling partner. We've hit the 7-0s and on our way up to the 8-0s.
But
so,
she's with you. She's not going to let kids fall through the cracks, and so the name would be helpful, and Ms. Bell
well, she's
needs
dealing
to
with
know.
a lot, because you know what's going on in Glenville. Glenville, oh, before I forget, we brought up the thing of the malts. They took second.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
That was
Yeah,
great.
They took second.
Thanks
They
for
should have
sharing,
got
Mrs.
first,
Coles.
because I believe that theirs was the best.
Thank you, Mrs. Coles. Davis? Mrs. Davis?
Thank you. As I was saying, in 2020, and this is 2021, at the same school, I learned a student's guardian was recording me since the start of the year, and because of the retaliation and no mediation allowed, I feared that there was an agenda vulnerable to it. So I let my administrator know, and he said that it was not based in reality, which I have a text message saying that she did, in fact, record conversations with me. It was for months. This person is a high school friend of my administrator. I was a little concerned because of all of the retaliation that had occurred the year prior and the unwelcoming. I have evidence of that as well when I came to the school back remotely. And then I filed a complaint in December, and then in January I gestures made from the students who were affiliated with the administrator and teachers at that building that were retaliating, and that never assisted the year prior. I had a verbal threat that I hope I pass away. That one was deleted when I sent it to legal and to the CTU, and I've asked it to be restored because I was reprimanded for. It was not a false alarm because I did receive from a former administrator to meet secluded and not to tell anybody, and there is an affiliation with that school as well. And I did fear that after having two students who were affiliated, and the child told me that her aunt was working at the school, that there was evidence, but the administrators went ahead and reprimanded me. Gave me on the internet some photos that she drew that were inappropriate for her age, sad faces broken, and then some anatomy that of the male that she would not know. So I did call Child Protective Services for that. My legal department and administrator disagreed with that, saying it's not concerning or a red flag. So I have on my record now that I shouldn't have called that child regarding that child, that I targeted her, when I have about 20 videos from this child, and I have some still pictures I took of the videos. To this day, no one in your HR department has viewed the videos. No one has asked me to show them it. No one will, and I've been emailing you. And I do have an excessive emailing of 17 emails to you, Mr. Gordon, in the last 4 months, and 17 to Mr. Kevin B. It's 17. I did not duplicate. It was a printed PDF file that was an error from your human resource department. And I did report a COVID violation January 20th, but again, that was due to the mask mandate that you, Mr. Gordon, told us was strictly enforced. And reporting it to my administrator and CTU and you, I thought that it was appropriate. And since then, I've had some retaliation as well. And I am facing now a 10-day suspension for using the email to tell you and ask you for a review for help. Since 2020, I've been bullied and harassed. I have had so many comments made to me. I was the only Middle Eastern teacher at that multicultural school. And I haven't been treated fairly, and I'm facing a suspension for asking for help, basically, and reporting a COVID violation. I follow the rules. Some people don't because they have friendships or they know the school. I'm new at the school. But I took your mandate as serious because you wrote in your letter that it was strictly to be enforced. I even have some letters to my CTU chair asking the questions about it before the meeting. And at that meeting, I did not wear a mask. So I did report it. And I did not mean any disrespect to anybody or anything, but I am now incurring retaliation. Thank you.
So now we will move into considering the adoption of 15 resolutions in the areas of Board of Education, Finance, Operations, Portfolio, Academics, April 12th board work session. 7.01, the chair will now entertain a motion to adopt resolution 7.01, amending board policy on prohibiting sexual harassment, discriminatory harassment, and discrimination. Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Mr. Gordon,
Thank you. This resolution is being presented at this time because these revisions are also part of our student code of conduct, where we print the full harassment policy for our students and our parents. The student code of conduct is being presented in item 11.01, and so we held this policy review to coordinate it with that policy review and to bring them both at the same time. It's presented unchanged from the board work session.
thank you, Mr. Gordon. Are there any questions or comments from board members? No? Yeah. Ms. Ellicott?
Hi, I'm sorry, this is not about this resolution. And I know we don't typically comment on the public comment right away. And CEO Gordon, I know you'll provide to the families and responses, as you always do, and I really appreciate it. Just along with the comments and the themes that we've heard today for the responses to the families and the board, I think it would be good to see how we track and respond to, at a high level, incidents of violence against students. And I would like to see those disaggregated by race, both the how families are, or which students are being targeted, and then how we are addressing discipline against the students who are perpetrating the acts, for lack of a better word. I know that we, at the last board meeting, I wanted to see that disaggregated by race for our sponsored community schools. I think it's important to hold ourselves to the same standards. And by saying that, I'm not saying that we don't. I'm simply asking you to make sure to provide, a significant amount of context so that we can address these issues at a systemic level and at a school level. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
To piggyback off that a little bit, I know that at the beginning of the year, we were discussing staffing issues regarding security, and I would like to know how we're doing now towards the end of the year, whether any of that has changed and how our schools are being covered security-wise, whether that has improved, whether that has gotten worse in any way, and just know what our coverage looks like across our school district.
If there's no further discussion, there's a motion. So, Mr. Ritchie, could you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott? Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the following resolutions. 8.01, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the budget tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. 8.02, authorizing the acceptance of grants from the Ohio Attorney General and the Ohio Department of Education, and authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to spend the funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grants. And 8.03, authorizing the acceptance of gifts and grants from the Cleveland Foundation and the GPD Employees Foundation, and authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to spend the funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grants.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. These are the finance resolutions. They are presented unchanged from the board work session. There were a couple of follow-up items here. One was around efforts to try to identify and enroll homeless students in the district. So there's a number of things that we have attempted to do, including making sure we have visible signage in strategic locations around the district and around the city, so that parents who may be experiencing homelessness can find those resources and be connected with us. We also have been working with a number of community agents having them help us to identify signs of homelessness like doubling up, things that people may not immediately think of as homelessness, and then helping them refer to us as well. And we've transitioned all of our homeless services so that we can really work with families to do enrollment procedures in a digitized way without a lot of the documents that they may not currently have access to. Our life skills coaches are actively in the community, making sure we know, places where people actually identify families who need homeless support services. And then also providing the emergency food and other supports in addition to the education efforts. Currently, we have 1,672 students who have been identified as homeless students in 108 sites, including our remote schools. Most of our district schools are alternative programs and programs we support like day treatment centers. And just wanted to follow up with that question back. And I do have the data table to share out. I just got it today, but I will share it as was requested as well.
Any further comments or questions? Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the following 3 resolutions. 9.01, authorizing the delivery of a quitclaim deed for permanent parcel number 126-18-061 to the City of Cleveland to correct the property records. 9.02, authorizing the administration to take custody of the painting known as the Spirit of Education and selected other historical artifacts that ICA Art Conservation can no longer store, and approving a gift agreement. And 9.03, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to Martin Public Seating LLC for cafeteria furniture for Rhodes High School of Environmental Studies in an amount of $113,398.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you. Again, these are operations resolutions that were presented at the board work session. They're presented here unchanged from the work session. 2 follow-up items here. One is that the district does have fine arts coverage as part of our insurance policies. That was one of the questions asked. And pieces are in our possession so that she can actually see them and be part of any work moving forward. We also do plan to find a way to engage our students in working with these artifacts when we bring them back, as was suggested. So I just wanted to follow up on those items as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Are there any further questions or, yes, Mrs. Link?
Thank you, Chair and Mr. Gordon, and I believe that our friends from the ICA Art Conservation are in the back there, so thank you for coming back to a second meeting, and thank you for your help with the painting. And then, Mr. Gordon, I'll talk to you later about something else that Mr. Basala brought up about a different art, nothing to do with this one, but we'll just talk a little bit about that. So again, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Link. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder?
Yes.
Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the following 2 resolutions. 10.01, renewing an agreement with Cleveland College Preparatory School, Hope Academy Northwest Campus, Horizon Science Academy Cleveland, the Intergenerational School, Menlo Park Academy, Northeast Ohio College Preparatory School, Stepstone Academy, and Village Preparatory School, Woodland Hills, all nonprofit community schools established under Ohio Revised Code Chapter 3314, whereby the Cleveland Municipal School District and the community schools endorse each other's programs. And 10.02, amending and restating the sponsorship of 8 community schools sponsored by the Cleveland Municipal School District.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you. These are our portfolio resolutions. They're presented unchanged from the board work session. The follow-up item here was requesting that discipline data be considered for both partnering charter schools and for sponsored charter schools. Matt Rado, our Executive Director for Charter School Partnership, has added that to the agenda for the partnership criteria meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and is embedding that into our mentioned earlier. We will also bring the same data elements for our own schools.
Ms. Ellicott?
Thank you, CEO Gordon, and Matt Rito, and presumably the chair who sits on that committee, for making sure that that language is in there. Is it in the, I know it's in the sponsorship contract language, the disaggregation of the discipline records by race, but it's not, is it in the partnership contract? Am I missing it?
It is not yet in the partnership contract. That is being worked on by the Transformation Alliance Committee.
Okay, where it is in the sponsorship contract, under 8, reporting on page 2, it does say should be disaggregated whenever possible. What is that, like where's the teeth in that? Or how can we make sure that it is?
So we would have to follow the N size rules for what becomes discoverable and where you stop disaggregating, but as long as it was above that threshold, we would.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott? Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. And the chair will now entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 11.01, adopting a student code of conduct for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you. This is our annual adoption of the Code of Conduct. It has also been approved by the CTU Executive Board, which is required under contract. The revisions are done collaboratively annually through our Student Support Committee. And I did provide the feedback around the clothing language and around the readability to the Student Behavior Support Committee, where they will work on how to make the reading levels known, the readability known, and will continue to bring to the Student Dress Task Force efforts to continue to refine.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any comments or questions from board members? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 12.01, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer or designee to enter into an agreement with MAC Installation and Consulting, LLC, to procure installation service for Clever Touch installation in various Cleveland Municipal School buildings in an amount not to exceed $1,657,000.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you. This is the service provider who will install the Clever Touch purchase that the board authorized at your prior month meeting in March. It is presented unchanged from the board's work session.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes. Dr.
Mr.
Thomas?
Gordon, what's the finish date for this to be completed?
Let me see that. Let me get the answer for you because I don't want to misquote and I don't remember. I believe they will all be in time for fall, but I want to verify that.
Yes, when it comes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any further questions? Okay, Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Yes. Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the following 4 resolutions. 13.01, authorizing the employment of teaching, non-teaching, and school-based administrative staff. 13.02, authorizing the reclassification of employees. 1303, authorizing the issuance of limited contracts for differential positions and the payment of additional earned compensation to employees. And 1304, accepting the retirements, resignations, and other separations of employees.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you. These are our monthly talent resolutions. The resolutions are presented unchanged from the work session. As a reminder to the board, we do update the exhibits to bring, to process all of our payroll issues as quickly as possible for our new employees and our existing employees.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any comments or questions? Yeah, Dr. Schroeder.
I do have a question. So, in the separations list, which is one that I pay attention to because, especially comparing with last year, we see that, clearly educators in the classroom, teachers, certified teachers, things like that, there's almost a 50% increase. Could you, discussions and questions that came up during public comment, could you comment on the security staff and if there have been larger numbers of separations this year than usual?
Yes, Dr. Schroeder, so we did see, particularly at the beginning of the year, while the parties were still in negotiations and were still operating under a contract that had expired about 4 years earlier, we did see quite a few separations at that time. And we are actively working to refill vacant positions. You'll see that there are 2 separations and 2 new hires on this agenda. So basically, we filled 2 that we just lost, but the big challenge for us was at the beginning of the year when we were operating under a outdated agreement, outdated pay and benefits, which we were fortunate to come to agreement with OPBA, I want to say now 2 months ago.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Yes. Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Is there any old business to come before the board?
Board members, just as a reminder, the district calendar for the 22-23 school year is an old business. At the May work session, it'll move back onto the active agenda for the board's vote at the end of May at the business meeting.
Is there any new business to come before the board? Yes, Ms. Ellicott.
Isn't really new business. I just wanted to thank and commend the CEO for his responsiveness to our questions and the follow-up at later meetings, as well as the responsiveness to public comment. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel good and confident about, the questions we throw at you, that we can count on you, coming back with reliable information later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellicott. Yes, Dr. Thomas.
I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Kidner back there who stayed for the whole meeting. Thank you. Thanks for lasting. Thanks for those 3 wonderful students you brought forward.
They were great.
And I look forward to seeing you at the end of May for graduation.
Any other new business? So the next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be a board work session on Tuesday, May 10th at 6:30 p.m. at Memorial School, 410 East 152nd Street. So with that, the chair will now entertain a motion that the board enter into executive session for the purposes of considering the employment of public employees, preparing for negotiations with public employees, concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and 3, conferring with attorneys concerning disputes involving the Board of Education that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bingham?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Ellicott? Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. We will now move into executive session. Following executive session to conduct some further business.
Excuse me, am I having my 5 minutes regarding the resolution? I was supposed to have.
Ms. Ellicott? Yes. Ms. Link?
Yes.
Dr. Schroeder? Yes. Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the suspension of a non-teaching employee, Cheryl Lashley.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gordon?
This is a recommendation for a 3-day suspension for violation of district policies, procedures, and rules.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Dr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. The chair will now entertain a motion.
Valdez?
Yes.
7 ayes, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Is there any other new business? Hearing none, as I mentioned earlier, the next regular